What happens when the very system designed to uphold justice becomes its greatest threat? When the scales of justice are not just tipped, but deliberately sabotaged? This is the chilling question at the heart of the Ted Stevens case, a saga that exposes the profound vulnerabilities within the American legal system. Senator Ted Stevens, a towering figure in Alaskan politics, had been a fixture in Washington for decades, serving as Alaska's longest-serving Republican senator. His influence spanned generations, making him an almost untouchable icon in the political landscape. But on October 27, 2008, this political giant faced a shocking conviction on 7 felony charges of corruption. The timing was devastating. The verdict came just 8 days before a critical re-election bid. The immediate political consequences were profound and immediate. Stevens lost his Senate seat, and this single election result directly shifted the balance of power in the United States Senate from Republican to Democratic. Yet, this was not merely a story of a powerful politician brought down by his own alleged misdeeds. The true crime, in this instance, lay within the halls of justice itself. Just 6 months after his conviction, in April 2009, the prosecution of Senator Stevens did not occur in a vacuum. It was part of a much larger, years-long federal investigation known as Operation Polar Pen. This widespread probe, initiated in 2003 or earlier and continuing until 2010, was a collaborative effort by the U.S. Department of Justice, the FBI, and the IRS. The investigation targeted political corruption across Alaska, with a specific focus on the influential oil, fisheries, and for-profit prison industries. Central to this sprawling investigation was the Veeco Corporation, a powerful oil services company based in Alaska. Veeco's executives, most notably CEO Bill Allen and Vice President Rick Smith, were deeply implicated in bribing Alaskan state lawmakers. The FBI even set up shop in a Baranof Hotel suite in Juneau, just blocks from the Capitol building, where they gathered evidence. This included a now infamous videotape of Veeco's CEO, Bill Allen, openly peeling off bills for legislators to stuff in their pockets. The extent of this corruption was so widely acknowledged that a cynical, yet telling, nickname emerged among legislators, the Corrupt Bastards Club. This moniker originated as a barroom joke in 2006, following a newspaper article that publicly named 11 lawmakers who had received significant contributions from Veeco executives. The casual adoption of this name, and even the printing of hats emblazoned with CBC, pointed to a political culture where ethical boundaries were not just blurred, but openly disregarded. Senator Ted Stevens became ensnared in this web of corruption through his personal home renovation project in Girdwood, Alaska. This extensive remodeling, which more than doubled the size of his modest home, was overseen by none other than Bill Allen of Veeco Corporation. Prosecutors alleged that Stevens had concealed over $250,000 in gifts and services related to this renovation from Veeco, failing to report them on his financial disclosure forms. The investigation into Stevens' home began with FBI and IRS raids in the summer of 2007, marking his direct connection to the broader Operation Polar Pen. On July 29, 2008, Senator Ted Stevens was formally indicted by a federal grand jury in the District of Columbia on 7 counts of making false statements on his Senate financial disclosure forms. The indictment specifically accused him of engaging in an 8-year scheme to conceal over $250,000 in gifts and home improvements received from Veeco Corporation and its CEO, Bill Allen. In response to the charges, Stevens publicly declared his innocence, stating, "I'm innocent." To clear his name before the upcoming November 2008 election, he asserted his right to a speedy trial. The government agreed to this expedited timeline, resulting in a mere 55 days between the indictment and the commencement of the trial. This compressed schedule, while a constitutional right, inadvertently placed immense pressure on the prosecution, setting the stage for critical errors. Early in the trial, Sullivan filed a mistrial petition, alleging that prosecutors were withholding crucial evidence. While Judge Sullivan denied this initial petition, he did admonish the prosecutors for their conduct, signaling early concerns about their adherence to discovery obligations. This early judicial warning, however, proved insufficient to deter the deeper issues that would soon come to light. The initial verdict against Senator Stevens stood, but the cracks in the prosecution's case were about to be exposed by an act of profound courage. In February 2009, months after Stevens' conviction and subsequent loss of his Senate seat, FBI agent Chad Joy stepped forward. Joy filed a whistleblower affidavit, making serious allegations that prosecutors and other FBI agents had actively conspired to withhold and conceal evidence that could have led to Stevens' acquittal. Joy's disclosures were not merely a complaint, they were a pivotal moment that instigated the investigation into the prosecutorial misconduct. His detailed allegations prompted Judge Sullivan to order a hearing to determine whether a new trial was warranted. The necessity of a whistleblower like Chad Joy to expose the misconduct, even after a conviction, points to a severe lack of internal accountability and transparency within the Department of Justice at the time. The revelations brought forth by Agent Chad Joy prompted U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan to appoint an independent special counsel, Henry F. Schulke III, to thoroughly investigate the allegations of misconduct. After a 2-year investigation, Schulke released a damning 514-page report on March 15, 2012. The report concluded that the investigation and prosecution of Senator Stevens were permeated by the systematic concealment of significant exculpatory evidence. The Schulke report identified several egregious examples of withheld evidence, known as Brady violations, which are constitutionally mandated disclosures of exculpatory information to the defense. Prosecutors withheld critical interview notes from their star witness, Veeco CEO Bill Allen. These notes contained significant exculpatory and impeachment information that would have been strong evidence for the defense. For instance, Allen had initially stated to prosecutors that he did not recall speaking about a particular bill, yet prosecutor Joseph Battini used Allen's testimony to imply Stevens was covering his ass, a narrative that contradicted Allen's prior statement. This prior inconsistent statement, crucial for impeaching Allen's credibility, was deliberately withheld. Furthermore, prosecutors also concealed the fact that Allen had estimated the value of Veeco's work on Stevens' home to be around $80,000, significantly less than the $250,000 alleged in the indictment. Information from Rocky Williams, a Veeco employee who supervised Stevens' home renovations, was also concealed. Williams had repeatedly told prosecutors that he understood Veeco expenses were being rolled into the Christensen bills, which Stevens paid. This directly supported Stevens' defense that he believed he had paid for all services, yet this crucial corroborating evidence was not provided to the defense. The report also found that prosecutors knowingly introduced false business records during the trial, further distorting the facts presented to the jury. They refused to provide the defense with grand jury testimony from another witness who had made statements helpful to Senator Stevens, dismissing it as not material. The Schulke report revealed that the Justice Department's overall strategy was to play our cards close to the vest, indicating a deliberate and calculated approach to discovery, rather than mere accidental oversight. As the extent of the prosecutorial misconduct became undeniable, Judge Emmett G. Sullivan's frustration escalated into outright outrage. He had previously admonished the prosecutors for their conduct, but the detailed allegations from FBI agent Chad Joy's whistleblower affidavit fundamentally altered the judicial perspective, revealing a pattern of deception that went far beyond simple errors. The judge took decisive action, holding the prosecutors in civil contempt of court for their repeated failures to deliver documents and comply with his orders to disclose exculpatory evidence. This was a rare and powerful judicial rebuke, signaling the severity of the violations. The Department of Justice, under U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, was compelled to respond. Reportedly very angry at the apparent withholding of exculpatory evidence, Holder took the extraordinary step of moving to dismiss the case against Senator Stevens with prejudice on April 1, 2009. Judge Sullivan formally accepted this motion on April 7, 2009, delivering a scathing condemnation. He declared, "There was never a judgment of conviction in this case. The jury's verdict is being set aside and has no legal effect," and reiterated his assessment that it was the worst case of prosecutorial misconduct he'd ever seen. Despite the eventual exoneration, the damage inflicted upon Senator Ted Stevens was profound and irreparable. His conviction, even if later dismissed, cost him his re-election campaign, ending a nearly 40-year career in the Senate. The investigation could not undo the damage to the senator's reputation and legacy. Stevens tragically passed away shortly after his exoneration, never fully witnessing the restoration of his public standing. The ripple effects of the prosecutorial misconduct extended beyond Stevens. The convictions of other Alaskan state legislators, Peter Cott and Victor Coring, who were also implicated in the Operation Polar Pen probe, were similarly reversed and new trials ordered. The reason for these reversals was the same: significant exculpatory information, including the very impeachment material withheld in the Stevens case, had been systematically concealed from their defense teams. The VICO scandal, with the Stevens case at its epicenter, laid bare a deeply entrenched culture of corruption within Alaskan politics, particularly concerning the pervasive influence of the oil and gas industry. The scandal highlighted that Alaskan politics was often dominated by oil and gas, and that a considerable part of the state legislature could be bought, and, on the cheap. While there were attempts at ethics reforms and increased scrutiny in the immediate aftermath, the case also revealed persistent loopholes and challenges in campaign finance and public records laws. The Alaska Public Offices Commission, APOC, the state body meant to monitor campaign finance and lobbying, was ridiculed as toothless prior to the federal intervention, underscoring the inadequacy of state-level oversight. Despite the overwhelming evidence of egregious violations, and the Schulke report's finding of intentional misconduct by prosecutors, a striking lack of criminal accountability followed. No criminal contempt prosecutions were initiated against the implicated prosecutors. Schulke concluded that while the misconduct was intentional, it did not meet the specific legal threshold for criminal contempt. The administrative disciplinary actions taken against the implicated prosecutors also faced a surprising reversal. Joseph Bettini and James Gecki, two assistant U.S. attorneys, were initially suspended for 35 and 15 days, respectively, for failing to provide important evidence. However, in 2013, an administrative judge with the Merit Systems Protection Board overturned these suspensions. The reason was not a re-evaluation of their misconduct, but rather a finding that the Justice Department itself had failed to follow its own procedures in determining their punishment. This procedural misstep meant the discipline was botched, leading to the overturning of the suspensions and even requiring the DOJ to pay the prosecutors back pay with interest. Senator Lisa Murkowski, a vocal advocate for prosecutorial accountability, was aghast, stating that it undercuts the faith Alaskans may still have in the justice system. This case brought to light broader systemic accountability failures within the Department of Justice. As one observer noted, a lot went wrong in the prosecution of Senator Stevens, and despite this strongly worded report, it seems nobody has been held accountable at the Justice Department. Concerns were also raised that the Justice Department had routinely blocked the release of Office of Professional Responsibility investigations, citing privacy laws and employee rights. The Ted Stevens case stands as a chilling testament to what happens when the very institutions sworn to uphold justice instead become perpetrators of injustice. It is a stark reminder that the pursuit of justice is not merely about identifying individual criminals, but about ensuring the integrity of the systems that define guilt and innocence. The lasting implications for the American criminal justice system are profound. The case highlighted, in the starkest terms, the critical importance of Brady disclosure, the constitutional requirement for prosecutors to turn over exculpatory evidence to the defense. It underscored the urgent need for robust prosecutorial accountability mechanisms, as the unchecked power of prosecutors can lead to devastating consequences for individuals and the democratic process itself. Ultimately, the Stevens case reveals the unfinished fight for transparency and accountability within the justice system. The fact that the prosecutors largely escaped significant personal consequences, with criminal charges avoided and administrative discipline overturned due to the DOJ's own procedural missteps, sends a troubling message about the power dynamics at play. The Ted Stevens case serves as a chilling testament to what happens when the very institutions sworn to uphold justice become perpetrators of injustice. It reminds us that the pursuit of justice is not merely about identifying individual criminals, but about ensuring the integrity of the systems that define guilt and innocence. The long shadow of this scandal continues to haunt the American legal system, leaving us with a critical question: if the system itself can be corrupted, what truly stands between us and the powerful? This is where our work begins. The pursuit of truth is a collective effort. If this story resonated with you, if you believe in shedding light on the darker corners of our institutions, then join our cause. Like this video to help us expose more stories like this. Share it with others to amplify our voice. Comment below with your thoughts on the case and what you believe is the greatest threat to our justice system today. And be sure to subscribe to Crime of the State, True Crime Chronicles. The archives are deep, and will continue to unearth the stories that time has tried to bury.